Welcome back to another episode of Cinema D'Amore. I'm your host Chuck, joined by
Justin.
And me,
and our guest.
Hey Jacob. Oh, God damn it, did I do it again?
Nah, Justin will fix that. Justin will fix
No,
that
I won't.
in post.
Keep it.
Yeah, we're just keeping it at this point.
I can, but sometimes they must be kept because they are so good. The mistakes are too good. They have to stay.
Perfection and
That's your
imperfections.
We're back talking about some more samurai movies with our main man, Tatsuya Nakadai.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm glad Justin has practiced Japanese for almost 2 full years, and every time during last week, you're like, that Harakuri there, and I'm like, it's not even remotely how it's pronounced, I'm pretty sure, but I know it's just your Pittsburgh accent slipping in there.
I don't know if you guys noticed, halfway through I gave up trying to even pronounce Harakiri, that I just started saying seppuku. I was like, I can't even pronounce this. My fucking accent, it's my worst enemy.
Switch over.
All I do know is it makes me laugh so hard. We're doing Ran. I still think of when we were recording something with James and he called it Ron.
Oh yeah.
It just makes me think of some guy named Ron.
And me and you were both like, what?
Ron, the Ron Howard story by Akira Kurosawa.
Ron. It just sounds so American. It's the movie Ron. No offense, James. It's just funny. I'm not trying to make fun of you for the rest of your life about that.
He totally is, James.
It was a great moment. I'm going to follow in K. Jacob's footsteps, and I'll give you the description that IMDb gives, which,
Nice.
much like Harakiri, has 2 descriptions, and the shorter one I think is the better one because it's just not over-explaining everything. Through his unconscionable actions against others, a sociopath samurai builds a trail of vendettas that follow him closely. That's pretty much this movie. We went from that actor playing one of the most heroic characters you could imagine in a film to playing just the worst possible person you've ever met in a film.
It was the same guy, wasn't it? Just a little bit
He's the
older.
main character.
Yeah. I was like, why does his face look so familiar? Yeah.
In real life, he's older in this film, but he looks younger because he was supposed to be playing like an old man in Harakiri.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But he's playing the young master in this film.
Well,
He is
no, I
4
thought he
years
was the
older.
bamboo. He was the bamboo samurai in Harakiri.
No,
He's not the
he's
bamboo
the old
samurai?
man.
No, he's the grumpy old vet.
Yeah,
Damn, that's wild. Talk about phenomenal makeup for a 1960s Japanese film. That's awesome.
yeah, he is great. I mean, he's great as an actor. His character, not a good guy in the slightest.
But he's a great swordsman. He even can fucking kill people with a wooden sword. That's how good he
He
is.
is.
I want to talk about that too, real quick. Wait, did you read the synopsis? Did I miss that, Chuck? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you zoned out. You were puffing.
Yeah, it's puffing away.
You're making sick plumes.
I have it on
Fat
mute.
clouds.
Yeah, got it on mute. I love that the focus of this movie was like the sword style and the person being like one and the same. And I like that like he has this style called the silent stance. And it's just like he basically shows himself as unopposed or like open and vulnerable so people feel like they can go in for a kill. And then like in one swipe, he just cuts them down. I thought that was really sick. I was like, I get now like from the opening where it's like, okay, this is why it's called
The Sword of Doom.
then it gets so much deeper than that, but that sword stance was really cool, especially because the way he fights throughout every scene, it looks like he's lazy, like he's like, oh, I'm doing this again, I'm just standing here, and then it's sick. It's really cool.
As Toshiro Mifune's character of the Swordmaster says, like, if you have an evil soul, you'll have an evil sword style.
Right, yeah,
And
what
that
was it,
dictates
Evil
everything.
Mind?
A sword is the soul.
Again, kind of ties back to the last film of that being everyone's view, like he sold his swords and has bamboo swords, like meaning he sold his soul already. That same theme carries over a little bit as well, that they view that strongly.
All I have to say is worth it. It was totally worth it. He's such a good swordsman. Totally worth selling your soul for.
Yeah.
He is. Even his own father sells him out.
Yeah, I love that opening too, the way you meet him showing up on that mountain pass and the old man's like begging to Buddha for death so that his granddaughter can like live a better life without it was more like a sad as woe is me kind of moment where he was like, I just want my granddaughter to have a better life than having to look after this silly old man. He's like, could you show some mercy? And then he fucking shows up and he's like, here's your mercy. It just
Yeah.
kills an old man. It was wild. I was like, oh shit.
It's like a Dirty Harry or
Yeah,
something.
he just kills him. He's like, well, you prayed for it. So like at first when I saw this too, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like it's the honorable thing. Like this man was asking for it, so he gave
He
it
was
to him. But
asking
clearly
for
the
it.
old man, when he saw what was going on, was like, no, wait, no, that's not how I want this to go. But it was too late and just fucking cut him
Chuck,
down.
I have to say too, you picked the horniest of all movies too. It's not very subtle with how horny it is.
That was fucking hilarious.
It's also very Hitchcocky, and I felt in the sense that it portrayed sex with like whatever the hell that mill thing was inside the mill. That was like
the awkward rape scene or consensual rape. It was really weird how to define that scene. But yeah, the mill pounding in the ground.
It was like an agreement, but also a rape. It was very awful, but
yeah, it rode a really thin line.
That like cut to that huge piece of wood just going into that hole and out and in and out. It was like that's the exact same shot from North by Northwest where the train goes inside the tunnel.
I think it starts moving faster at one point, like
that's your imagination.
Like the where he's like, could be just seeing things here, but this movie, the way it like weaves in and out of all of the plots is so bizarre. In that, there were characters that I didn't realize were the same characters till almost the end of the film, and I was like, when he kills the old man and leaves that girl on the mountainside, and then there's that other guy that's walking along, and then we find out later he's a thief that stole something from like the training dojo where the young master lives, I guess with his dad and all the other trainees. And then it wasn't until way later, and they introduced the characters again of Omatsu, who's the young girl, and it's like they keep calling that guy her uncle. And I was like, oh, these are just new characters. And then like
I thought the
wasn't
same
for like another like half an hour, like when he's like, well, when I found her on that mountain pass after her grandfather died, I was like, oh my god. That's who this is. It's the same guy.
Like the end of the movie when he's having the conversation and like he says like, "Oh, I found her on a mountain pass," and then she's having the conversation with the young master, and she's like, "Well, my grandfather died on a mountain pass," and I was like, my brain finally clicked, and I was like, "Oh my god, I forgot you're the young girl," and I was like, "Oh, and the thief is your uncle." I was like, that's why they were in the story. I was like, who the fuck are these people? What is their purpose in the story? Like, I just, for some reason, it just slipped my mind. Like, I was just like, who are these folks? Like, why are they here?
I feel like it's supposed to be that way, though. Like, to me, it felt like we weren't supposed to like make that connection until the end of the movie. Like we weren't supposed to
but it's the
remember
same actors, that. But I guess because they were all done up in headgear and like half their body and faces were covered, it was hard to really tell who they were in the beginning. And also she was supposed to be a little bit younger, and then as it progresses, and that's another thing too, the way this film progresses over the course of 2 years, it just kind of jumps ahead and they just kind of say things to imply time has passed, and you're like, oh, okay, so we've moved ahead in the timeline here.
Just like all of a sudden there's a baby, so you're like, okay.
Yeah, there's a baby. Okay. Well, we know how that happened thanks to the pounding meal. So.
Now his wife is the woman that the other guy's wife after he killed her, and that guy divorced.
He promised not
her.
to kill and then killed, but it was self-defense.
That guy self-defense. He came at him.
Yeah.
He had the silent style.
I was talking to Jacob before we started recording, and I was learning a little bit more about why this wasn't so well received in Japan when it came out. Yeah. And it was part of like a 41 volume story or something like that.
Yeah,
so this version
by Metsu Pass. I probably butchered that name, so I apologize.
It's still called that. That's like literally what the movie is called. Yeah. But Americans, The Sword of Doom.
Okay.
A lot of people weren't happy with the movie because it was kind of a greatest hits version of the story. And I compared it to The Dark Tower that we got a couple years ago, where you're like, it's just a bunch of parts from the Dark Tower series that they meshed together. And I think that's why things seem so convoluted. There's like so many fucking stories going on.
I did a little bit of research too, because I want to come in strong for Chuck's episode, because Chuck, I really liked this pick. It was another fun one that, again, I wasn't expecting this. Like, I was expecting the violence because, you know, I'd seen the trailer and stuff. But
Jacob, I gotta say, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I would hope that you would put in the same amount of research, even if you hated the movie.
No, I was last minute for Harakiri, and all I got to do was just watch and enjoy a beautiful film. But for this one, I had a little bit more time, so I did a little more research into it because of, we'll get there, but just how everything comes together and ends. I was like, I kind of want more. How do I find more? So they're looking for more of Sword of Doom. I ended up finding some really cool stuff about the movie. One being that the director, what is it again? Kihachi Okamoto. He's a studio director from Toho. He worked a lot with the Kurosawa, which is why you see a lot of Kurosawa type stylized filming, but he has his own take on it, which I do appreciate. But it is cool that, like we said, the mountain introduction to the young master being on top of the mountain when it shows him walking up to the old man. It's very similar to Yojimbo's introduction.
It's got the same composer as Yojimbo.
It has the same composer. It, of course, stars our boy Tafune, who's like the guy for Kurosawa. And it's funny because he's like first build on the cast, I think.
He's the Sanjuro of Yojimbo.
But he shows up halfway through as a supporting role. And he's still a badass too. We'll get there. What you were saying though, based off this book, it's not only that, apparently because it's so ultra violent and graphic, that for the time it came out, audiences just weren't ready for this. They just didn't want it. But apparently this was supposed to be a trilogy. And like I said, I was expecting that and was wanting more, but unfortunately it never got another sequel. They kind of just canned this one. As a solo film, it is pretty damn remarkable and really good for what it is. But there's just a lot of plot that leaves you kind of hanging. But it's plot related to side characters and not so much the main character, which I liked.
The series had several movies that came out of it. And they said that the guy that did the Samurai trilogy back in the 30s, he did 2 of them, but they're now lost. They don't lost in time. I don't know what the hell happened to them.
There's there's also the trilogy. I think it's called The Satanic Swordsman. I believe that's the title. The American title is The Satanic Swordsman. It's a trilogy, and it's supposed to follow the actual novel that this was based off of. It's supposed to be closer following the novel than the Sword of Doom did, because like you said, the Sword of Doom is kind of like a collection of the greatest hits, whereas the Satanic Swordsman actually follows the way the novel written out.
Yeah, it's an unfinished story too. The author died. He did not finish the story.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they didn't finish the movie. They're just like,
Yeah.
we can't finish it. There's no end.
His footsteps.
But in a way, it's kind of cool because it always seems unended. Like it never really gets an ending, but it doesn't need one because it's just evil. Like evil just goes on.
Evil
It's kinda
just
like the
changes
theme that I
shape.
picked up. Yeah. And I want to say, and I'm trying to look up his name because I want to try and say it right. Tatsuya Nakada is phenomenal. That guy, man, just his face alone, the way he acts with his eyes and his face in every shot when he's not even saying anything is just so wild. Like the range. I've never seen an actor with that much range with no vocals except for Andy Serkis. Like
He's like Jack Nicholson scary in The Shining. Like he's got those eyes that like
he
you
does
just
the
don't want to be anywhere near
smile
him.
and the laugh, and it's like, is he drunk? Is he?
I don't think
crazy?
I don't think he blinks in this whole movie either.
The dreamy singing that he
doesn't
has.
blink. It's wild.
He doesn't blink like ever. He never blinks. He's always just like staring into your soul every time he's on the screen.
Yep. They did a great job of showing evil. And that's what I like too, is like this film is, our first pick was like about being anti-samurai. This is more about being anti-hero. Like it's the bad guy samurai. This is like the definition of like not using honor, not using the power of the sword for what it should be.
But he believes in the rules
not
to an
standing for what
extent.
the samurai should really stand for. He manipulates and uses everything to his advantage because he just wants to kill.
He wants to kill, but like when he does kill that one guy during the sparring, I guess I would call it.
Yeah, the duel.
He's like, he technically broke the rules by doing this, and
Well, that
my
guy technically
killing
broke
was in fair, was fair game.
the competitor broke the rules by illegally attacking him, and he self-defended and accidentally, quote unquote, killed him. But I think he knew what he was doing.
Oh, he
as
knew
you
what he was
continue- as you
doing.
continue to watch this, you're like, no, he intentionally struck a killing blow because he was like, I was trying to be nice and let you win.
He's like,
and you
whoopsie,
got mad
I
because I
killed-
fucked your woman, so I had to kill you. And then like all of his brothers start to fucking gang up on him in the woods, and he's like, you sure you want to do this? If you got a problem with it, yeah, I'm gonna kill you.
And that's the poster that we see. It
It's so good. That poster.
him with
that
all
walking
him
down
walking away
trees.
from all the dead bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that scene was like was reminding me of the hallway scene in Old Boy, and they filmed it
Yes.
similarly. Like it did like a side angle of him just like walking slowly through the
I think-
forest, like as he's cutting everyone down as he's going by. Which I wouldn't be surprised if
It
Park
had to be
Chan-wook
inspired.
took that from
Right.
that.
The sword fighting is strange in this too, because sometimes it's like classic samurai where there's literally no blood and no real striking. In other scenes, you'll see like the fucking severed hand or the fingers getting cut off.
The finger cuts are the best, and the face slashes. I love the face slashes.
Yeah,
They were
but it's like
great.
you could get so many fights where like there is no blood, and then all of a sudden there's just so much blood.
I think what's cool about this film is like when it came to the violence is like depending on how the fight went down. If it was brutal, if the killing blow was brutal, it would show the blood. But if it was quick and efficient, they would just get sliced and fall over.
Oh yeah, we had some heavy neck spray.
Well, and I think it also tried to show the difference between the good and evil of the use of the swords. For example, Tafune, the character that he plays, has that moment where the gang tries to attack and kill him, and he's a badass good guy samurai, takes them all down. He's angry, he's yelling like, why did you make me fight against my will? Why did you make me kill these swordsmen? They didn't have to die this way. It didn't have to be this way. Like, he was repentant. He didn't want to have to do this, but he defended himself, and it was righteously done. But all his kills were like quick and efficient, and it didn't show a lot of blood. But every time you had Tetsuya in there, and what's his actual character name? I apologize. I should remember this. His Ryunosuke. Ryunosuke. When Ryunosuke would do a kill, it was always violent. So anytime he slashed someone, especially when he would slice someone in the back, they always showed blood and cuts to the back, because it's like stabbing someone in the back. It's not, you're not facing your opponent. It's how they kind of play with it.
Or when he stabbed that woman, he like stabbed her. Like, it was a pretty good looking.
Yeah, that was a good one too. Another penetration scene as well. Very horny.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a fucking weirdo, Chuck, and I love it.
That's what I go for.
Chuck loves sword play.
Yeah.
But you know what's cool too is this movie. What I like is like you're following the footsteps of the bad guy, who is your main character. So it's like, instead of being like this, good guy samurai fighting for his dojo, or like this Ronin saving a village, it's like, no, you're watching the story about that fucking piece of shit gang outside of town that is wreaking havoc, and you get to see like the building of this gang, the Shinjin group, and like how they are forming around trying to bring down the empire, and trying to bring down a certain clan, taking over the town, all the while weaving in between the story of vengeance from, I believe his name was Bunoro, who was the man that Ryunosuke killed in the match. Yeah, Ryunosuke killed a guy in the match, and his surviving brother was out on a vengeance path, but they kept telling him, like, you're not ready, dude. You're not ready. You can't face him. You got to keep practicing. You got to keep training. So you have that side story. Then you have the thief and the young girl from the mountaintop. You have their side story blended in, all while Shinjin is Ryunosuke is just losing his shit and just becoming this bloodthirsty bandit, basically. And like just using his sword to kill people.
He is also a huge libtard, and I say that because he tried to abort a baby well after they were born.
I don't remember him aborting a baby.
He didn't abort. He tried to. He was like, let's fucking kill this baby, and they stop him.
I mean, I feel like it's implied that he did kill that baby.
He killed a baby. There you go. He killed a baby.
I mean, he definitely left his child to die after he killed his wife.
I was about to say, yeah, if he didn't flat out kill that baby before he left, he definitely just left it there and just didn't go back for it.
And honestly, as cruel and evil as he is, I feel like he actually probably left it to die. I don't think he honestly.
Well, you're thinking about that. You're thinking about that baby. There's a baby earlier, even earlier than that, where he gets his fucking sword out, like he's gonna go fucking stab the baby. Not the one where he kills the woman and just leaves the baby there.
So he's just killing babies, basically.
There's a couple babies.
We should put trigger warnings on this episode. Trigger warning: babies be killed.
There's 1 to 2 babies that are killed in this.
Maybe
only
more
1 to 2
off screen.
There's 1 to 2 babies. Definitely 1 woman is killed, and then the rest is a bunch of guys getting butchered. Actually, I take that back. There were like 3 women that were mowed down. So 3 women, 2 babies, and like 50 fucking dudes. It's pretty wild. The kill count is insane.
3 men and a baby.
Yeah, the kill count is insane.
It really is. And I kind of want like the perspective of when we get towards the end of this movie and he's in that room that's supposedly haunted, and then he starts getting haunted by like his past, and he's seeing the shadow. Like,
oh, you gotta love that exposition, right?
But like when he starts slashing at the shadows and the ghosts or whatever you want to consider them, and then the other people show up, I want to see from their perspective when they show up, and they're like, "What the fuck is he doing? He's just like going crazy right now, and nobody's around." Like, I want to see.
For some reason, they thought that was a good time to try and kill him.
Yeah, I would have just been like, "Whoa, this guy's psycho."
Yeah, I'm out. Peace. That butcher, that was great. That whole scene was great. Like everything coming to play, and that was the cool thing is like you're getting this awesome story, and all the pieces are coming together, and it's finally starting to make sense. And like we stated before, for me and Chuck, we had that moment near the very end where he's sitting down with Ometsu because she was caught, listening outside of their meeting. And he was like, "There's no need to kill her." He's like, "If you want to kill her here, I'll kill her." But then he ends up just kind of having this conversation with her, and she starts freaking out, talking about seeing the ghosts in the room, and tells him that the room is haunted. He's like, "I don't believe in ghosts. I only fear men." And then like she says, "What was it?" She told him something about like why she was there to begin with, about having lost her father. And then like as he's realizing who she is, I was starting to realize who she was. So like everything's really started to kind of come together in that moment. And so you're like, okay, she's there. This happened because of all that shit, led him to this point. You have the young brother waiting outside the building for when he steps out to kill him, to try and do the powerful strike move. And at the same time, you have the Shinjin group, his bandit group that he runs with, having a battle inside for a fight for power, where like him and the boss are on good terms, but everyone else wants to take out the boss and step up, and just because he's close to the boss, they got to kill him too. So it's like they send 4 guys to kill the boss, and they send 100 dudes to kill him. It's like everything just kind of just comes together and like explodes or implodes on itself at the very end. And it's just,
do you think that he kills her?
Kill scene.
I feel like his
Well, that's the thing
intention
is,
was
I
to
think-
kill her before he got
I was
widely
thinking they were gonna
distracted.
show when he was losing his shit and cutting everything down around him, I was thinking maybe they would just show her body dead on the floor, or maybe when he started losing his shit, maybe she just snuck the fuck out. Like
I
hope
feel like
did.
she
but I think
hopefully
she's
ran for
ran away.
fucking life.
Yeah, because they made it clear. They're like, look, she may be what did he say? Something like she may be beautiful, but she's not dumb or something like that. Like she's a clever girl.
That's another thing.
Like,
They're all
she may be
creepy with her.
innocent. He said
She's
she may be innocent, but she's clever. And
she's not 18 to 20 yet, so it's
No,
real creepy.
Yeah, another horny sequence there where it's like, oh, you're 18. Well, when you're ready, I'll make you a woman. It's like, come on, man.
At least he got fucking slashed up.
Yeah, he got it good.
We do get
Yeah,
that
he
weird
got
scene. Don't forget about the odd scene when she's sent to Lord like Kamio's house or something, and that guy's like a real weird like. I guess I'm just gonna have to cut you into pieces. We're gonna have to play the bamboo game, and it's like, what's going on? And then like thieves break in and tackle him, and it's her uncle, and he's like, you don't even realize at first he's in a mask, and he's just like, I was wrong about this place, get out of here. Just,
Yeah.
What was great too is I keep piecing all that together. Like I knew he was the thief, the second time around. I forgot he was the thief the first time we saw him. Like I forgot about the whole mountain pass, I guess, at this point. But like I knew he was her uncle after having seen that scene beforehand. So I knew he was the thief telling her like, hey, I was wrong, get out of here, don't work for this guy. Like I knew everything with their story, but for some reason my brain just didn't put together that, oh, he was the one on the mountaintop that adopted her and rescued her, basically. And that's another thing too I like, is that you have this thief, this random guy who's like the outlaw. He's typically he would be the bad guy in most of these films, and he's kind of the redeeming character. He's kind of the good guy. He even teams up with
he's kind of
the
like a
young
Robin
samurai
Hood like
kid.
character,
Mhm.
maybe. You know, he's he robs people every once in a while, but I mean, the only people we see him steal from are
He's
terrible
Omar
people.
from The
Like,
Wire. He's got a heart of gold.
He steals from the young masters, like dojo or wherever their training grounds. He steals from them, and then he steals from that Lord Kamio, who's a terrible person. So I mean, we only see him steal from bad people.
When they sliced up that guy at the end of the movie too, I like how they like threw the things over him. Like it made me think of an American movie where they would put a pillow over someone's face as like a silencer.
Yeah,
Where
right.
they throw like not necessarily like the wall, but maybe they're like changing walls or something, those temp walls, but the way they just throw it down on the people and they stab through it.
It was pretty good.
And that woman still
Oh,
gets up and like
100%.
runs away, like she like what the fuck is happening here? I kind of was hoping, like, I think this movie was great. Like, I'm not hoping this movie was great. This movie was great, but it kind of like with the Sword of Doom, you would think that maybe like it would be a stronger supernatural story, like more along the lines of the swords possessed him, something like
Well, you
the
kinda
red
get
shoes makes that girl dance forever, like this sword. Well,
You get that in the sequence where they're in the cemetery, where, like I said, with Tafua. I can't say the name right now.
Mifune?
Mifune. You get the scene with Mifune as the samurai.
Mifune.
It's like You're really gonna make me kill all these guys? And it's the one scene where you see Ryunosuke. He stands down. He doesn't get involved in the fight. He just watches these dudes get slaughtered. And it shows us the one scene where he has a bit of fear in his eyes, where he starts to question where he stand. Like, will his evil essence stand up against the good essence? It's a bit supernatural, and that's how I took it. That's
He was
how I
very
really
much
took it.
Ice Cube in Friday. He was like, damn.
You got knocked the fuck out. He's great. There were these elements. I mean, even with the crazy wife, and I say crazy wife because she was forced to lose her shit because she was married to this evil guy after everything he had done to her. You have those moments, and it's like he has these moments where like he knows something is wrong, something is off, and I think he even sees it in himself, but he still pursues that path. He still continues down this downward spiral of chaos, and he creates this havoc himself. He brought all this on himself. He brought it all on himself. Every choice he made, every decision he did, he chose to go about it that way, and he walked that path, which is why I love the ending to this, where it's just him cutting these dudes up, just mowing them down, getting sliced in return, but still fighting, doing that crazy lazy dog style fighting where he just looks like he's weak, and then they come at him and he just slices them up real bad, and then it just ends mid-frame of him coming at the camera with the sword out, and it's like, that's the end? Like, it just fucking ends on you. You're like, where's the rest of the story? Where's the plot? Like, what about the guy waiting outside? Is he gonna get him? What happened to the girl in the room? Like, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? It was wild, but it works because it's like it does that the plot itself doesn't matter. It's just about this sociopath on this crazy fucking evil path of samurai he went down. It's wild.
Well, I guess The Shining mirrors this movie very much the same. Like, the ending of this reminds me of like the hedge maze at the end of The Shining, where he's just fucking losing it. And, you know, that actually ends with a cut of him being frozen, and this is a freeze frame. And hopefully in the same way, we don't know for certain that girl got away like Danny got away. But
Right.
I did see a lot of similarities between the protagonists, kind of how that story goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things that I saw in this film that you can tell inspired other filmmakers. I think we mentioned it earlier, or maybe we were talking off before the podcast, but we had mentioned like there's a ton of directors now that are heavily inspired by this movie. One being, you know, Justin's favorite, Quentin Tarantino. We had mentioned Sam Peckinpah, heavily influenced by this. Sergio Leone's, all of his spaghetti westerns were heavily influenced by The Sword of Doom because of its ultra violence. And then, you know, we had mentioned too that the director had worked with Akira Kurosawa. So like, not only is this movie violent and wild, it's also beautifully shot. This guy knows his space. Like, he knows how to frame, and like he knows how to capture certain things within one shot. Like, so much can happen, but he captures it all so perfectly well. I really like the way he filmed this. His lighting is on point. Like, when Ryunosuke walks through town or walks through a room, the way he passes under the light, how it shines through his face and like the shadows cast over, it just looks so epic, where it's like, man, this guy, like, somehow the lighting makes him look even more evil than he's already putting out there. Like, they just do such a great job of like capturing that, and as you're watching it, you're like, man, you're drawn into that. The scene where he kills his wife, like, that's a beautiful scene. I really liked that shot. I liked how everything was done, and he just didn't give a shit. He just killed her and then walks away, and it's like, whatever, I'm done now, I can move on. I don't have to deal with you anymore. It's so wild. I cannot say wild enough.
It was a wild bunch.
Different movie.
Same style.
Same stuff. Definitely Heck and Paul inspired.
I just really want to know what Charles's favorite part of this movie is. Like, he mentioned it's one of his favorites, not his absolute favorite, but it's up there.
You picked this one, right, Chuck? Like, this was your pick, and I'm curious as to why you picked this one.
Just because it's so weird. It's not like most other samurai films. And I would say my favorite part, it probably is the fight in the snow with Toshiro Mifune, because it looks great, and it's still, it carries over some of those some of the other elements that you get to see, which is when they're chasing the guys carrying the things on their shoulders, the little cart that he's sitting in, and they think they're chasing one guy, but it turns out to be the wrong guy. But you see all the other guys in the Shinjin group, and they're all like scurrying around trying to hide and make themselves hidden, and Ryunosuke just was like
Trying,
he's just
yeah.
slowly walking in the middle of the road behind it, like he's not even remotely trying to hide himself. He's like, I don't. If the guy sees me, I guess I'll just start fighting him. So he's just
He had
like,
the stealth mission in the video game, but he was just like, I don't really care if anyone sees me.
Just gonna walk through. Don't even care there. But yeah, I don't know. Something about snow scenes in samurai films. They always look great.
They do. Snow or rain is always epic in a samurai film.
Or wind. Just gotta have an element in there. Fire.
Have some sort of
fire. A little lava in the background, some fire pits. Yeah. No, it's cool. I like that you picked it too, because I was telling Justin, again, this was before we recorded, but I was like, I like the selections that we've picked for this month of samurai film, because Justin started us off with Harakiri, if I said that right, which was like your anti-samurai movie, and then you have this pick, The Sword of Doom, which is your like bad guy samurai. Like it's the anti-hero movie, so it's like, again, it's not your normal samurai film. And then of course my pick, which is coming up next, is Lady Snowblood, which is about a woman samurai, which is also not your usual take on film. On samurai films, and then followed by the last
Ron.
Ran.
Ron the movie,
which is also an Akira Kurosawa film, which is like he's the man for samurai. So I'm glad we picked him. But we picked one of his few colored, in color version films, but also it's another samurai movie that's about giving up that power. So like all the stuff we picked for Samurai Month are completely against the norm of what you would expect in samurai movies. So I'm really glad that we're highlighting these and bringing them to life, because if it wasn't for you guys, I would have never really watched or heard. I never would have heard of Sword of Doom, and I wouldn't have watched Harakiri, just because I didn't think it was something I would be into. But I'm really glad that I watched these, because they were not at all what I was expecting going in, but they are everything that I wanted when watching it, and then some stuff I didn't realize I wanted, but I loved it.
And this is 1966. This movie came out.
Yeah, and I think the next one I picked is 72 or 74, and then I think Ron is 81.
I think it's right in the middle of those two.
Yeah, so like the chronology, we're also doing this really neat chronology order, and it's cool to see like during these times in cinema, samurai movies are big, especially in the 60s, the late 50s, early 60s. Samurai movies were huge. They did really well, even over here in Western cinema. They were popular. They're still popular today.
Well, the reason I brought it up, which is because Mifune is in this movie, and we do a Kurosawa movie at the end of this. They are like broken up by this point. The last movie that they've done together was Redbeard in 1965, and they kind of like parted ways, and they never worked with each other again at like the height of their careers, essentially. So it's kind of weird.
Falling out between them, or is it just?
Yeah, there was a huge falling out between them, and I think it's more speculation about what went down between them. Like, there's no real hard. Like, we know that Mifune was a pretty bad alcoholic, so I don't know if like something like that actually came into play or what the hell it was. But weird to have like one of the best directors in your country and one of the best actors in your country just all of a sudden be like, we're done. And I know they were planning on trying to do something again towards the end, but that's when Mifune passed away.
That's kind of like if Scorsese never worked with Robert De Niro.
He almost didn't. He almost kind of stopped.
But he never will. You can't pick up that.
Killers of the Flower Moon, like, yeah, it sets him back on track.
And that's another thing that's cool too, is like, even though these films that we picked are kind of your outside the norm, they also somehow always tie into one another. They always come back to the roots of Akira Kurosawa, with literally having his actors or his crew members that are involved, or his music producers, story writers. I'm excited to see, because I love Lady Snowblood. I own both 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. I've watched them 1,000 times. I love those movies. I'm still looking forward to rewatching this again after having recently just seen Harakiri, to see if it still holds as my #1 favorite samurai film. And I call it that because to me, I think it does deserve that title of samurai, just because of how it is and how it plays.
It's a samurai film. It's very much a revenge story.
It's a bit modern in a way. It's a revenge story. But she's a badass, and it's really cool. So I'm excited when I do my research into it, because now I'm going to do a deeper dive after watching it to be like, all right, Does it connect in any way to Kurosawa now? Does it connect in any way to these other filmmakers that we've watched or discussed, or these actors? Are they involved? Because there's always, it's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like there's always some kind of small connection. So I'm really curious to see how
What do you think the biggest thing that Kurosawa's brought to the table of Samurai? I feel like I personally feel like he's just not necessarily like his sword, like the sword play in it. I think that like he really brings like a strong human element to these characters. And I think that's
makes them more real. Like they're not just like before him; they were just like your stock hero characters.
Mifune in Seven Samurai is a prime example of a character that's like he has a good heart, but he definitely has his issues. Where like he's not. I don't say he's like a bumbling idiot, but he's just like he's not an idiot. He's he just doesn't fucking give a shit anymore, and it's such a real thing. Yeah, when push comes to shove, I help these people, but because I kind of started to like these people, but before that, I was in it for the wrong reasons.
Well, going back to this movie, going back to the Sword of Doom, that was kind of what the vibes you were picking up from Ryunosuke, except his wasn't like, I'm doing this to help people. His was like, I don't really give a shit. Like, he's like, you ruined my life. You ruined my life. You did this. Like, he's always blaming others, but it's like he made these choices. He chose to be this person, to do this thing.
Unless the sword made him evil.
Yeah.
How that goes down.
Yeah, and it's very much emotional. Like, the whole film is very much emotionally driven because, like I said, the way the actor Nakata works with his eyes, like, it's intense. His smile, his creepy smile when he's like just losing his shit. Even when he's having that moment of showing fear, he doesn't blink, as Chuck put. Like, he just never blinks. He just kind of stares him down. It's like he questions, like, should I do this? Should I go ahead and just lure him in, or will he strike me down? He might actually strike me down. So he plays it smart. Like, he is an intelligent person. He does know what he's doing. He just chooses to do. He has no moral, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Like, he has no moral. It's what's best for him and to his benefit. And if he can kill it, he'll kill it. And he doesn't care. I think it lives up to the name Sword of Doom. It really does.
Not the whatever pass.
By Metsu. I'm so sorry again to anyone out there listening that knows what we're actually talking about. I do apologize for butchering the title. I'm going off of a bad memory with a language I'm not.
That sounds sad. I also would recommend, because I feel like I'm just recommending other samurai movies, Tetsumoto, who did Tetsuo, those movies. His last movie in that set that we got, Chuck, Killing. Did you get that far? Killing's really good. I thought Killing was really good.
I'm sorry, is this the samurai movie?
It is a samurai movie.
Okay, because I've heard of Kill, but I haven't heard Killing. I've heard of Kill, and Kill I want to see.
Killing is
it's the same director of Sword of Doom, I believe.
Kill's the same director as this one. His other big one is I think Samurai Rebellion,
which I definitely want to see. Samurai Rebellion looks amazing. That was another thing too. Trying to find sequels to this led me down a path of other films by this director, which I definitely want to check out because he is a Toho studio director, so he puts out a lot of good quality samurai films. He's not a Kurosawa, but he's like your second runner-up, I would say, in the samurai genre.
Kobayashi did the Samurai Rebellion. This guy did.
Oh, he did Samurai Assassin. That was it.
Yeah, Kobayashi Samurai Assassin.
How could you get those confused, Chuck?
And what's cool,
Samurai
Rebellion, from what I understand, the storyline for Samurai Rebellion sounds really cool because it's kind of like, it's not what you would think of like samurais rebelling. It's about a man who is thinking about rebelling because everything that he stands for and that he fights for, that he thinks is supposed to be right, he starts to question it. So it's a very much harakiri style to it. Like, it has that kind of tone where it's like you start to question, like, what is actual honor? What is actually right?
Yeah.
There's cruelty in the world, and what do you stand for? Like, so
Kill is like a 1960s movie, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
and Killing is like a 2004 movie, I think. It's pretty modern film, but I thought it was fucking good. It's like, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's more like more somber, but it does get pretty violent. It doesn't have a lot of crazy. I mean, like, we did 2 in a row where there's a lot of like 1 against 5 billion people. That there seems to be one of those huge fights. Your next movie is more like pretty much 1-on-1. There's not a lot of not fighting armies.
Well, two things. I went down a Tubi rabbit hole because I love Tubi and all the stuff they put on there. They actually have some classics on Tubi. A lot of Lone Wolf and Cub. They actually have the Sonny Chiba 70s TV series Lone Wolf.
Oh, really?
They also have a TV series starring our boy from this movie, Kadai, or at least it looks like Kadai. It's what is it called? Kuno Soma or something like that. Kuronosona. It's a samurai show from the 70s, and it's about a guy who takes up sword, hired sword, like becoming a hired sword to help his ailing mother out. So it's kind of like a renegade series where he's like a man on a mission, like just doing the right thing, trying to help out, getting paid like a sword for hire kind of deal. But he's not skilled in any way. So apparently the show follows him becoming skilled through, I guess, circumstance. So it looked really cool. So I definitely recommend checking out the samurai films on Tubi. There's another one I found called Crazy Samurai 400 versus 1, and it's like a one long continuous shot of this guy fighting 400 people. It's pretty wild. That's like a 2020 movie or something like that.
This guy did Zatoichi meets Yojimbo, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that too. Because, like I said, the opening to this film, there's so many similarities to Yojimbo in this. Just not a good guy.
What a boring ass title back in the day when they just had characters meet each other.
Yeah, gotta meet 'em.
Kong meets Godzilla. You know, like you're like, oh, okay, just hanging out.
Yeah.
It's just a weird introduction. Oh, nice to meet you. I'm King Kong. Okay, I'm Kong, Godzilla.
We were also, I was going to say, the second thing I was going to say is we had mentioned it in the last episode. We brought up the amazing actor from Shogun, the new TV series. He is also in an early 2000s movie that I highly recommend called The Twilight Samurai. Really good stuff.
You're not talking about Cosmo Jenkins or whatever his name is, right?
Yeah, not the white guy. I'm talking about our boy from The Ring. And so many.
Oh, Cosmo Jarvis. I'm so sorry.
Cosmo Jarvis.
When I first saw that name, I'm like, who the fuck is that? That is not a real person. It is. We
had the I think the other film I almost picked for this when Justin mentioned samurai was and it's another favorite of mine, is Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai.
Oh yeah, I mean that would be cool. That would have been a good one.
Forrest
That's an amazing movie.
Shit. Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker as a samurai in the 90s.
Yep. Fighting bad guys. He's like a superhero. That's a really underrated film. Really obscure, underrated movie. And I was talking about Hiroyuki Sanada, by the way.
He's the go-to guy for everybody nowadays.
He's amazing.
He is. He's the go-to Japanese man.
There's a lot of good newer samurai movies. I think the other one I was almost going to go with too.
The Last Samurai. We know, Chuck. You keep bringing it up.
I love that movie. I even
Last
made
Samurai
like a cool
fits in
little
every
template.
category.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I made a template for him, Chuck. I made a template for Justin that had a quote from The Last Samurai by Tom Cruise, and he didn't even use it. I'm so upset. He didn't even use it. I put a lot of hard work, and I was like, here's this badass quote from the greatest samurai movie ever, The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, and he didn't want to use it. And it's a great quote.
Is it in Japanese?
Hard work.
No, it's in English because it's The Last Samurai. It's that line where he's talking to that dude. He goes, "You believe man controls his destiny?" And he says, "No, I believe man waits until his destiny finds him." Some shit like that. I don't know. It was ridiculous, but I was like, "Oh, this is great. I'm gonna put this in there." I thought it'd be a nice little nod to Samurai Month, but no, it has to be in Japanese. It has to be legit.
Someone can translate that into Japanese.
Yeah, you can find the
Go
Japanese.
to Google
dub.
Translate.
Okay, I'll Google Translate it.
You know what, though? I think we could do, after this month, we should do a Samurai Month where we focused on the White Knights of Samurai. We focused on Tom Cruise with The Last
That's
Samurai.
what we're doing next
We
month. The White Knights of
Forrest
Samurai.
Whitaker and Ghost Dog. What's another good one we could use with an American actor playing American Ninja? There you go.
I mean, Keanu Reeves is in
John Wick
47
That's
Ronin,
pretty
the
close
other
to-
great samurai movie. So good. You are not a samurai. And he gets his ass beat by
Teenage
a dog.
Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Yeah. The Ronin. I'm ready for them to make the new Teenage Mutant Turtles movie or comic strip into a movie. Have you heard about The Last Ronin?
I've read it.
I hear it's beautiful.
They'll definitely could make an interesting movie out of it. I heard they're making a game out of it. A video game, but
I'd play it.
Could have covered Batman Samurai. There's
Yeah.
a sequel to that.
Yep.
Are
Do the
they?
Silver Samurai?
I actually saw something today when I turned on my TV. It was like a Suicide Squad thing, but it also had like an anime look to it.
I think that's just I think they are. I think they do just have it's on. I think it might be on Hulu. They have like a Suicide Squad anime. But no, they're doing like a sequel. I think it's going to have like the whole Justice League as Batman Samurai.
That's fantastic.
I like the concept. It actually was probably one of the better Batman animated movies.
It had good stuff in it. It had like some weird animation styles. It like changed animation a couple times, and had some like the characters like didn't remotely look like they did 2 minutes ago.
You know what? Speaking of animation, I think that this movie, The Sword of Doom, would be a phenomenal anime to reboot it or make it a series, and you could actually finally like showcase the story of the name that I butchered of Mitsu Pass, like actually follow the demon, swordsman. I think would be an incredible anime because you can make it ultra violent, and we know anime is already a horny genre, so like you kill two birds, one stone right there. I think it would be fucking cool to really. I would love to see the Sword of Doom brought back as an anime and like continue telling this story. I think that would be really cool. I would love to see that.
Did you see Ninja Scroll?
I love Ninja Scroll. I own it on Blu-ray. It's my favorite anime of all time.
Ninja Scroll was very much Lady Snowblood, but what if it was much more violent and sexual?
Yeah, pretty dope. Well, we're talking about the Sword of Doom specifically because it has so much good, like there's just so much cool uniqueness and genre style to this movie that like I think you can make a video game, which I feel like it also did some inspiration for Ghost of Tsushima. I feel like they pulled some stuff from this, but I really would love to see this turned into an anime series. I think it could be done really well and would just
Or like, God damn it, do it for the Dark Tower already. Just animate that. Just animate it.
That's it.
You're gonna have an issue having a 9-year-old character for several seasons of a show, anyways. Just animate it
Or every year you just replace the actor
with another child that doesn't look
that
anything
looks
the
completely
same.
different every time. They have to look completely different every time. Just like we do in sitcoms when you replace the daughter that walks away from the show with a different woman to play the daughter who looks nothing like the original cast. That's what
My idea has always been hire somebody that looks like a child to begin with, like a young, like that 25-year-old that looks kind of like a kid, but then just Benjamin Button that guy into like a 9-year-old kid for like 10 years. You like see him on the red carpet, you're like, who the fuck's that? You're like, oh, that's the guy that plays Jake, the 9-year-old kid.
Oh my goodness, we have lost track here. We're going.
No, we didn't. We didn't. It's very much the same in the sense that it is a greatest hits movie of this long-running story that was never finished, and there's lots of different variations of the same world tied to Sword of Doom.
I will say this too. Once again, you guys bring me onto the show, and we cover a genre that I love and adore, and you show me films that I have yet to watch, and now they're gonna go in my Blu-ray collection. I am buying these bad boys for my collection to watch again. Really loved this pick, Chuck. Thank you so much. This was an excellent pick. And I think it was perfect for the setup that we all subconsciously didn't realize we were doing for this month. We all got these unique subgenres out of samurai genre.
Gotta say, it's Barnes & Noble's Criterion sale is happening right now in July.
I might get that book.
You can get these movies for a regular movie price instead of expensive.
Oh, you mean like when they charge me $50 sometimes? I'm like, come on.
Yeah, now they'll charge you $25.
It's half off.
It is
Who
half
am I
off.
kidding? I've paid
You're
$60
stealing those movies at this point.
Or I mean, you could do that. You could just go into Barnes and Noble and steal them. I mean,
If you find a Barnes & Noble that has them.
If you want to follow the path of the evil samurai, the Sword of Doom, you should absolutely steal this movie from Barnes and Noble. This is Cinema Demori approved.
As long as you're a good-hearted thief, that's all.
Yeah, you gotta be a good-hearted thief.
I'm letting Chuck end this episode. I want to hear his outro.
I'm done. I've said all I had to say.
here's an outro.
We're done.
I love it.
You can clip that and put that wherever you want in the episode.
At the end. It's the end. It's the outro.
You put it 10 minutes in. 10 minutes in, it just goes, we're done.
Peace, everyone. Jacob, thanks for being on. You're awesome as always.
Thank you. Check out IPA Sessions. That's
That's
it.
his podcast. If you just listen to this episode and no other.
Yeah. I'm just a random guy that likes to show up. You know, check out our social media. Follow Cinema D'Amore.
He loves beer, IPA sessions. It's
I
his
love
big
beer,
part.
and my show has nothing to do with it. But if you are a beer maker out there, I would love to have you come on and tell me all about your craft.
Well, I think we could find somebody that makes IPAs for IPA sessions.
I would love that.
Gotta be making 'em
I'll
around
plug them
here.
for free. I'm on video. I'll drink them all the time.
You should drink them during your episodes. That would make it more IPA.
I like to present myself professionally to a lot of these amazing artists. But yes, that's not a bad idea.
Well, then get a sponsor. So you're not drinking. You just be like, this is brought to you by this IPA beer.
IPA is brought to you by IPA.
Yeah, just switch it up.
In affiliation with Cinema D'Amore.
Whoever pays for it that week, you know?
Exactly. Okay, we're done. I just want to steal Chuck's line.
We're done.
We're done.
We're done.
We're Cinema D'Amore. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with news and information on upcoming episodes. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, Alexa, or iHeartRadio. It would be greatly appreciated if you subscribe to our podcast on your platform of choice. We also appreciate feedback, so rate us, review us, and let us know what you think. And above all else, thank you for listening.